Which page are we doing? What page are we doing?
I think they spent time yesterday.
All right, everyone, welcome. So I've just got the YouTube live stream done, and then I've shared the YouTube link to the WhatsApp group. So we're pretty much ready to get started. So today the plan is to go through abstract reasoning. That's our first priority. Go through all the abstract reasoning questions, and then after that, maybe go through reading comp. We will go through reading comp. And then anything that comes up in between now and then as well, right? So again, just a reminder to send your questions in the chat. I'll be reading it mostly there. I won't be taking questions from the microphone just because, you know, it does get a bit loud. All right. And then, yeah, that's it. All right, let me just start screen sharing and then we'll get started. All right. So we'll get started with abstract reasoning, as I mentioned. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, this week's abstract reasoning is this first page itself is by far the most difficult abstract reasoning questions that you would get in the actual GATE exam. Now, you would get harder questions with Loyola as we progress, but this would be the hardest abstract reasoning questions, I would say, that is realistic to get in the actual GATE exam. So if you guys pay very close attention to this page and some of the things we go through, I think you should be well, suited for the exam. So let's get started with question number 1 here. Now, the reason these questions are very difficult is because on this page, we have so many questions where you have two identical features, meaning that you have two things that are exactly the same. And the problem with that is, unlike previous abstract reasoning questions, so for example, if you take a look at questions like this, question number 9, each image, it's very clear on how the object moves and where it moves, right? Like you can see it starts off here, goes there, goes there, goes there, and so on and so forth, right? But then when you get to this page here that we have, page 14, you have two of the same features and you're not sure which one is which. For example, does this square become this one, or does this square become this one, right? So the first thing I want you guys to learn, like the first rule for this, right, that I want you guys to learn. By the way, I'm really happy, really, really, really happy that you guys have, 1 second. All right. I'm really happy that you guys have joined the Zoom class, because this class is going to be so useful for you, especially if you take as much as you can from it. So the first rule, when you get a question like this where you have two identical features and you don't know how it's going, the rule is essentially one of the features must have a simple pattern, right? One of the features must have a simple pattern. So this could be like plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, or like plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2, right? Something very, very easy, something very straightforward to kind of see. The really hard ones won't have something very simple. That obviously is like the ones where the best abstract reasoning students will be able to solve under time. But for most of us, it's best to kind of skip it because of the time conditions of the exam. But for, for most of these questions where you have two of the same features, one of them has to have a simple pattern. Now, looking at this question, the first thing you should ask yourself is, what is the simplest pattern that I can explain for this square here, right? So starting off, you choose one of the squares and you ask yourself, is it more likely or is it more simple for this square to go here, which is basically go down, or is it more likely for it to go here, which is go down and then go right as well? And for most of you, I would say, you would agree with me, it makes more sense for it to go down. So let me show you, let you know. By the way, we're testing things out, right? It's all about testing things and seeing if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then we try again. So we say it's this, goes down 1. And then again, you ask yourself, is it more likely for it to go down again, or is it more likely for it to go back up and right a lot? Again, I think most of you would agree it makes more sense for it to go down. And then you would ask yourself, does it make sense for it to go here, or does it make more sense for it to go down here, right? So far, we're seeing that it's moving along this outside, right? So my intuition says that it makes more sense for it to go along this sort of line. And therefore, I want to put this as the other square. Again, we're not sure. This is just a test. We'll see if it makes sense or not. If it doesn't, we can try again. So once we've put these things together, let's look at it. So from this image to this image, the green square goes down plus 1. Then it goes plus 2. So 1, 2, plus 1. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, plus 3. Okay, this looks like a real pattern. Plus 1, plus 2, plus 3. So the next one should be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer should have a green object here. Sorry, a square there. And the answer that looks right to me is C and A. Let's try the other one out, see how that moves. So I'm going to highlight it. So the other square, let's see how it moves. From here to get to there, it goes right 1 and up 2, right? It goes right 1 up 2. Then it goes right 1 up 2. Okay, I think I'm seeing a pattern. Right 1 up 1 2. Ah, perfect. Right 1 up 1 2. So the answer should have another square here, and the only one that makes sense for that is C, where we have the square there and we have the square there. All right? As Samad correctly mentions in the chat, it's like a horse in chess or a knight. It moves in the same sort of movement. But yeah, so for this question, you just have to do trial and error. Now, the next question, I'll show you how to do mapping, right? Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so in the next question, I'll show you mapping and how you can solve it using like the mapping we learned about 2 weeks ago. So starting off with this question here, the first thing we do is obviously draw our map, right? So here we have, and by the way, for this question, I want everyone's full attention, like super full attention, because this gets very confusing, like what I'm going to draw. And if you follow me as much as you can, you will get most of it. And the ones who get confused might be confused about a small detail or such, right? But if you get zoned out and then you see the final result, it'll look very confusing, right? Have you guys seen those like memes or like those jokes where it's like you're in maths class and the teacher's doing 2 plus 2, and then you look out to the window and daydream for a while, and suddenly on the board it's like if Jim has 4 apples, what is the weight of the sun? You know that joke? It'll be like that. If you zone out for the first 2 minutes, it's going to look very confusing. All right. So let's take a look. All right, so I'm going to draw the map. It looks like this. Resize. All right, so that's the map. And then we're going to fill it in. So it starts off here. Oops, actually, I still think I should resize it a bit. Oops. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Resize it. All right. So in the first image, this is the part where I need your full attention. In the first image, the triangles are in this position and it's in this position, right? All good so far? First image, they're in those 2 positions. Awesome. In the second image, it's in this position and this position. In the third image, they are back here and here. And in the fourth image, they're here and here. Okay, this looks a bit confusing, but then we'll figure it out step by step. So the first thing I want to do is change the color. All right. So the first thing we will do is remember, what was the rule I said, or what's like the idea that you can use whenever you have 2 identical things? What's going to be the thing that you can expect most of the time?
Change the color.
No. That's just for me to do with my iPad.
To look at the one that can be like more reasonable and into the correct space.
Yeah, you're on the right track. By the way, you have a really cool room, Nina. It looks like those movies. Akil.
Mapping.
Yep. Well, not necessarily mapping. I said at the start of this lesson.
If the triangle is on one side, then the opposite can also be that. Like if it's in 1 and 1, then it can also be in 2 and 2. Like it
No.
can be cross.
Trial and error.
No. Meha Vijayanand. Do you want to say it out loud? Or Akil Karthi?
Find a simple pattern in one of the objects.
Perfect. Right, perfect. So remember, I literally wrote it. That's the first thing I said at the beginning. One of the features must have a simple pattern, right? It must have a simple pattern. So what you should look for is, by looking at this, which one looks like a very like straightforward pattern. A lot of times it's, you can see it. You can see how it, what looks pretty simple or straightforward. Now, what you can do is, well, the most simple one is 1, 2, 3, sorry, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, right? And that should be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like all 4 numbers should be next to each other. But in none of this, we can see all 4 of the numbers together. So in that case, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to start off by just choosing any one number. So I'm going to choose, so you can choose between this one, or you can choose this one, right? Basically what I'm saying is that you can choose this triangle or this triangle. You can choose any one. I'm going to choose this one here. Now, again, back to what we said before, what's the more simpler move? To go from plus 1 or to go plus 2? And the simpler move, I'm sure most of you will agree, is to go plus 1. We're going to trial it out. If it doesn't work, we will come back, but just try things out, right? Do the easy things first. So it goes plus 1. And then from there, the next 3 is plus 2 here, because it makes more sense for you to go plus 1 and then plus 2 than for you to go plus 1 minus 1. That doesn't make any sense. So it makes a lot more sense for you to go plus 1 plus 2. So if you were to write that down, plus 1 plus 2, and then from there, you can do another. From there, does it make more sense for you to go plus 1 or does it make more sense for you to go +1, +2, +2? And the answer is it makes more sense for you to go +1, +2, +1, which is this 4 here. And to find where the answer should be, we know that it is +1, +2, +1. Next one should be +2. So from this 4, it goes 1, 2 to this location here. And I'm going to circle it, 5, right? So we know the answer has to have a triangle in the top right corner, and the answer cannot be D, cannot be B. We're left with A and C. Next, let's take a look at how the other, let me make this one smaller, how the other numbers move. So starting off with this 1 here, you go -1 to 2, and then you go -1 to 3, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 to 4, and then so we have +1, +2, +3. Next one should be +4. So it should go 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should be in this position here, which is C. Right? If you have any questions, send it in the chat. All right. So I'll give you a few seconds to take anything down before I go to the next question. All right. So Anya Shah, could you explain what you mean by your question? I think you're muted, Anya. If you want to unmute yourself and ask.
Like how the bottom one moves?
This one here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, so you the way you would do it is, as you guys can see here, I've circled the ones we've used so far, right? So all the ones, all the 4 numbers we've used, I've circled them. So we're left with these numbers here. So to highlight it, I would use this green here. We're left with this, 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 and this. Just simply count the spaces in between. So between 1 and 2, it's +1. 2 and 3, it's +2. And then 3 and 4 is +3. So next one should be +4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 should be here. Do you understand? Hello?
Yeah, I understand.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions?
I understand.
Awesome. All right. I'm getting a few general questions. I'm going to just skip over those because I don't think it might be that useful for this class. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about this, send it in the chat, and otherwise I'm just going to move on.
Yep.
So question number 3, again, we have 2 features. Once again, they both look the same. Now, one thing you can quickly kind of make a guess about is you can say, well, one thing I've noticed, Melvin, is that there's always a circle on the inside and there's always a circle on the outside. So there's one here, one here, one here, one here, always on the outside. So maybe one thing you can tell is that the circle on the inside is the same circle. So this circle is the same as this, same as this, same as this, right? You can make that guess. Or you can say that and then similarly, the one on the outside is always the same. So you can make that guess as well. But to prove that sort of idea, we just have to try it, see if it makes sense. So I'm just going to quickly draw the map of this question here. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have 1. So the inside circle is there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, from 1 to 2, it's a movement of +0. 2 to 3 is +1. 3 to 4 is +1. In most ordinary situations, does this make any sense? Like this pattern doesn't make any sense, 0, 1, 1, right? You could argue that about 2 weeks ago, and 2 weeks ago, you guys learned this thing called the Fibonacci sequence, do you remember? We learned about the sequence called 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, right? We learned that. So maybe it could be that sequence, right? 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Could be that. But I just don't think it makes that much sense. Let's see if there's a simpler pattern. If there's a simpler pattern for the outside one, it could be right. Otherwise, we're just going to have to try again. So the outside pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the outside circle, it goes +1, +0, +1, +1, +0, +1. Sure, that looks pretty straightforward. So the next one should be +0. So the outside circle should be at the bottom again, right? The outside circle should be, oh, sorry, +1. So it should be at the, no, it should be here. So it goes +1, +0, +1, and it should stay there. But there isn't a single answer with the outside circle at the bottom. So none of the patterns make sense, right? None of the patterns make sense. That means our original idea that the outside circles are all the same was incorrect. That tells us that this circle goes from outside to inside to outside to inside. And the other circle goes inside, outside, inside, outside, right? They go in, out, in, out, in, out. The original idea that we had, that all the outside circles are the same circle and the inside circles are the same circle, is incorrect. So to visualize this better, now, for example, you guys can map it, but just to help you guys see it clearly once I finish mapping, this circle is the same as this circle, the same as this circle, the same as this circle. And then this circle is the same as this circle, same as this circle, same as this circle. So let's draw it up. So the people sending the messages in the chat, yes, your messages are sending. I'm not sure what you mean by anti-clockwise, clockwise, a few other things. I would recommend like finishing the question first. So once I finish the question, maybe things will start to click. That way you don't miss out on what I'm teaching as well. But yeah, so let's take a look at the green circle. Let's see if we can find a pattern there. So it starts up here, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. If that is not the easiest pattern ever, right? It's so obvious. It's a +1, +1, +1 pattern. Oh, sorry. I'm so silly. It's a +1, +2, +3, +4 pattern, right? So I'll show that to you. +1, +2, +3, +4. 1, 2, 3, and it should come all the way back to 4, right? So the green one should come back here, same position, but on the inside. So it can't be D, can't be C, can't be A, has to be B. But let's find out if it makes sense for the outside circle as well, the red one. The red one. Let's see. The red one starts off here, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So that's what I was talking about. +1, +1, +1, +1. 5 goes there. And the answer is B. Pretty easy, right? I'll leave it up here if you want to take some notes. All right. Question number 4. So question number 4, here we have eight-sided map again, and then let's figure out how they move. So starting off with drawing the map itself. 2, 3, 4, right? So we have 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, right? 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, the one thing you can see is that there's only one, 2, there's only one dot here, and there's the one dot here. Now, a lot of you would argue that the dot appears, disappears, appears, disappears. Most of the time, that logic would be incorrect. Most of the time, it is overlapping. When you get to term 4 of this year or term 1 of next year, the final term, so there's 4 terms in total. When you get to the final term, you will realize that there will be one more thing that it can do, right? Which is, it's called a cycle question, and we will get to that like later on. But for now, most of the time, it's just what's happening is that they both are on the same position and they're just overlapping each other, right? So that's why you only see one. So let's take a look at the map we've drawn and see if we can find a simple pattern. We can choose whichever one you like. You can choose this one or you can choose this one. I'm just going to choose this top one here. So this one, it goes, again, the simplest pattern is the correct one. So 1 from, why is it not coloring? Oh, good. All right, 1 to 2 goes +1. And then from there, it goes here +2. And from there to here, it goes +3. So +1, +2, +3. And everyone knows that the next one should be +4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should go here. And there should be a circle in this position or a dot in this position. So the answer cannot be C, cannot be D, has to be, oh, sorry, yeah, it has to be A or B, right? In those positions. So again, guys, just for reference, all the circled ones are the same ones. Now, we're left over with the uncircled ones here. So to show that, I'll use a different color to kind of visualize it easier. From this one, by the way, remember, they're overlapping, so there's 2 2s here. So it goes to this 2 here, so it goes +2, then it goes +1 to this 3, and then it goes +2 to this 4, because again, it's overlapping. There's 2 4s there. So the pattern for the blue one is +2, +1, +2, +1. So the next one should be here. 5 should be in this position. And the answer is A, not B. The answer is B. So A. So if you want some time to take down any notes if you want, I'll give you some time, and then I'm going to move on to the next page. All right. So question number 5. Here we have, again, same sort of thing. Now, this question, it's much harder because in this question, I want you to send it to me in the chat. How many possible locations can the dot or the circle go to? Send it to me in the chat. How many possible locations can the dot go to? All right. Good job to most of you who said the answer being 12. That's right. It's 12. Because, as you can see, it can go to the corners and it can go to the middle. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, if you were to draw a 12-sided map, that's going to get very messy, right? It's going to get so messy that you really can't see anything, right? Like, it's just going to confuse you. So the best thing to do is just use the image itself. We use mapping to help us see the pattern better, but if the map itself becomes too messy, then it's useless. So just look at the question itself. When you look at the question itself, you might notice that there's, again, remember there will always be a simple pattern. We can choose any one of these two dots, whichever dots you like. So I'm going to start with the top dot, just because it's at the top. So it starts off here. Now, does it make more sense for, I mean, there's only one option, so they're both overlapping. So it goes across by 1, right? So it goes -1. And then from there, it makes more sense for that dot to go here than to go here. So I'm going to say it goes +1, 2. So -2. And then from there, it makes more sense for it to go forward again to here than to go back now. So it goes +1, +2, +3. So -3, right? So there is a clear pattern. There is a clear pattern. So if you were to do that, let me show that to you. Here, 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 they're all the same. It's -1, -2, -3. Next one should be -4. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So the circle should be in this position. So we can cancel out C, we can cancel out D, we can cancel out A. Obviously, we're left with B, but then let's just check if the other circle makes sense as well. The other circle, if you focus on it, it starts off here, then it goes up there, then it comes back down there, and it goes up there. So it's just going from this position to here, and then back to there, and then back to here, and then back to there. So you go back down, and that makes sense for B, and the answer is B. So it all checks out. It makes sense. So if you want to type anything down, top dot goes -1, -2, -3, -4. Bottom dot, it goes pretty much top, left, bottom, right. But if you want a number pattern, it's just +6, +6, +6, +6, or -6, -6, -6, -6, right? Awesome. Question number 6. This question, it is fairly easy once you see it. And then from now on, whenever you see this type of question, it should be fairly easy to like figure out what the pattern could be. So here we have a series of black and white dots, black and white squares. And the pattern is essentially, by the way, here's the trick. When you get a question like this, right, where there's so many different elements, right? A simple thing to do to help you succeed is to choose an image that looks familiar. So for me, I might choose this block here and see if I can see that come up again somewhere else. So I'm looking at this L shape here, and in the next image, well, there's this L shape and this L shape. Okay. And the next image, there's this L shape and this L shape. And here and here. Okay. Huh. That seems interesting. That seems interesting. We might be starting to get somewhere. Oh, wait, there you go. There's two L shapes. So we can see that these two L shapes are in the top half all the time. And then that makes me wonder whether these dots here, they're individual dots that are moving around. So what you'll realize when you try things like that is that this shape is split into 4 quadrants, like this, where there's an object that's moving around in each quadrant. So if you follow this red dot, it goes down, it goes left, it goes up, and it should go right. They're basically rotating within their quadrants, right? So the answer should have this top dot on the right-hand side, which is actually literally just A. That's the only one that makes sense. But you can test it out for the other ones. You should finish this one at the top there, and that checks out there, checks out there. And then these should go there, so that checks out there. And this should go left, and that checks out there. So the answer is A. So there is sorry, there isn't 3 L's. There's only 2 L's. So there's just 1 L there, 1 L there. These are individual dots. All right. So a few people said, I don't understand how the individual dots move. So basically, a way to kind of see it is just take a look at any one of the dots. So I'll focus on this red one here. It's literally going down one to this image, left one, so left one there, and it goes up one, and it goes right one. So it's going clockwise within this quadrant. It's turning around and around and around. Okay. All right, moving on. Question number 7. Question number 7, again, we start off with 1 dot, then we have 2 dots, 2 dots, 2 dots. I'm just calling these dots, it's squares. I don't know why I'm calling it dots, but 1 square, 2 square, 2 square, 2 square, right? What that tells us, again, is that in this first image, that there's 2 squares overlapping each other, right? It tells us that they're on top of each other, and it's not that it just randomly appears. So let's try it out. Now, if you were this square, where does it make most sense for you to move? From this image to here, or from this image to here? So for me, the one I would argue for is just, it's like going across just by 1. So let's just try it out, see if it makes sense. As Austin says, the first one, aka the closest one. Correct. And then from there, it makes more sense that it continues in that direction rather than going back to its starting position. And then from there, now it gets a bit interesting. It could go down there. Because so far we're seeing that it's going, we're seeing that it's going across like this. So it might make sense that it's going like that. And let's see if there's a pattern. It goes +1 to here, +1, the green one. Then it goes +2, so 1, 2. And then 1, 2, 3. Aha, +3. That pattern makes sense. So the next one, you guys should know, should be +4. So it should be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the square should be in this position. But if you look at the answers, none of the answers have a square in this position. Now, at first, I thought maybe I made a mistake, but what that tells us, like obviously you shouldn't like straight away just assume that the teachers made a mistake. See if there's maybe another pattern. Maybe instead of it going down there, it actually went here, right? Let's just see if it makes sense. If it makes sense, then it's a win-win either way for us. And if you look at that, it does. Because once the square is there, instead of going down like that, it moves like a snake. It goes 1, 2, 3. So it still goes +3 in that position. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So the square should be in this position right here. And the answer is D. That's the one that makes sense. For the other square, let's see how that moves. It goes, it's pretty easy. It goes top right, bottom left, top left, bottom right, top left, bottom right, top left again, which makes sense for D as well, right? Pretty straightforward. So once again, if you guys were to follow, the green one is just going +1, +2, +3 in a snake-like pattern. Kind of like this. And the other dot, the unhighlighted one, it just goes top left, bottom right, top left, bottom right, etc. All right. Final question on this page, question number 8. Let's draw the map. 2. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So fill it in. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. All right. Oh, I made a huge mistake. This is a classic mistake that happens. Like, so many students fall for this mistake where you're so focused on drawing your map somewhere that you fill in the map of the answers and not of the question, right? Not of the question. So let me just redo that. So it is 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and that's it, right? So let's see if we can find a simple pattern. Again, you can choose whichever one. You can choose this one or this one. I'm just going to choose this one because it's on the top. So we just go from there. 1, it makes more sense for it to go to this 2. So like we did before, it goes there, +1. From there, makes more sense to go there, +2. From there, +1. So we now have a pattern. On the other hand, we have this one here. It goes to this 2 here. That's +2. From there, +2. From there, +2. The next one should be +2. So the purple one should go +2 to this position here. It should finish there. And the blue one should finish off +1, +2, +1, next should be +2. It should finish off here, 1, 2, 5 there. So that looks like an 8. 5 there. So the answer is B. The answer is B, right? So just to recap again, the purple dot goes +2, +2, +2, should go +2 again. The blue dot goes +1, +2, +1, +2. All right. Hopefully all good so far. I'm going to zoom out. If anyone wants to take any screenshots, anyone wants to take any notes, things like that, that's up there. And then we'll go into the next page. All right.
Question.
Yeah, you have to send in the chat, but then I'll take it now, Pragun.
How do you screenshot?
It depends on your device, man. I can't help you with that.
I'm on laptop. Command.
Is it a MacBook or is it a Windows?
It's a. I think it's a Windows because.
Okay, so on a Windows, press the Windows key.
Which one is that? Oh, okay.
And then do you see how it shows up a search thing?
Yeah.
Type in snipping tool, SNIPPING. And look at the screen, it should come up there. Did you
Yeah.
see?
Found
Yeah,
it.
so you click it and then you can go for, yeah. All right, so we'll go into the next page soon.
I know I screenshot this.
All right, next page, question number 9. Now this page is a lot more easier, right? This page is a lot more easier. So starting off with question number 9, we have the pattern. By the way, whenever you get a sequence of random images, usually like 99% of the time, it's the number of straight lines, number of curved lines, lines of symmetry, lines. Actually, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like usually it's one of those. Or it could be like circles or whatever, right? Or holes. So in this question, it's very straightforward. The pattern is lines of symmetry. So there's 1 line of symmetry, 2 line of symmetry. There's 1, 2, 3 lines of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of symmetry. And then finally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of symmetry. Pretty easy pattern. Question number 10. When you get a question like this, with like question number 10, it's usually the pattern is where the all right, someone asked me a good question. So someone asked me this on, I think, Tuesday or Monday as well. Why does a diamond not have 4-line symmetry? Well, because it's kind of like squished in. It's the same reason why a rectangle can't have 4-line symmetry. Because if you were to take a A4 piece of paper, if you were to like fold it across a diagonal, it won't fold perfectly. It's only if you have a square that it would do that. That's why. Question number 10. When you get a question like this, usually it's going to be something to do with the number of sides, the outside and inside, as it goes across, right? So here we have the outside. Usually, by the way, with questions like this, the easiest way to kind of like figure it out is just writing down what you see, right? So I'm going to write down how many sides are on the outside. So 5, 4, 1, 4. And then on the inside, it is 5, 3, 3, 1. All right. If we look across, do we see any pattern? -1, -3, +3. Doesn't make any sense. -2, -0, -2, -0, maybe. So another 1 in the inside, like A or C. But that doesn't really help us because, it doesn't make sense for the outside shape. So let's then look at maybe a difference or addition of them, right? So 5 minus 5, we have 0 difference, 1 difference, 2 difference, 3 difference, and then it should be 5 and 1, giving us a difference of 4. The answer is A. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a difference of sides from the outside and the inside. Question number 11. This question, it's very easy to kind of like go look at it and say, oh, it's +3, +2, and then it kind of gets messy. It gets really messy. Another way to like think about it is like slow down for a second and just ask yourself, what is the change that's really happening? So from here, we have pretty much, if you were to write it down, 1 vertical line and 1 horizontal line. Then we have 2 verticals and 2 horizontals. And then we still have 2 verticals and, 3 verticals and 2 horizontals. And then we have 4 verticals. Am I doing this? Yeah. And then 3 horizontals. 1 vertical, 2 verticals, 3 verticals, 4 verticals. Next one should be 5. It's always increasing to the sides, right? So it has to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, that makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't make sense. So B or C. And if you look at the horizontal line, there's 1, now there's 2, there's 2, now there's 3. Next one should be 3 again. It's like plus 0, sorry, plus 1, plus 0, plus 1, plus 0. So if it's 3 again, the answer is B. That's the pattern right there. All right. Arya, if you have a question, send it in the chat. I'll take a look at it and I'll answer it. When you get a question like question number 12, like here you have yes, I don't understand why the people are arguing like about the answer not being B. I did say it's B. I agree. It is B. Question number 12, when you get a question like this, when it's purely just increasing in size and it's increasing like a lot, it could just be what do you call it? It could just be the number of the sides, right? Not the shape itself. So if you were to write it down, we have 1 dot, 4 dots, 9 dots, 16 dots. When you look at it, if you were to do additions, you can figure it out that it's plus 3 plus, sorry, 5 plus 7, and then plus 9 gives me 25. Or you could realize that it is square numbers, 1, 4, 3, sorry, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, 5 squared, right? So it's just square numbers going up. Really, really easy. Onish asks, in the first image, why is it 1 horizontal and 1 vertical? Because it is 1 horizontal technically, right? It is still on the horizontal plane and it's still on the vertical plane. It's just that it's a bit like, because it's just a singular one, it's kind of hard to see. It's like, why is 1 squared just 1 dot, right? Because, you know, a cool thing about square numbers, by the way, guys, is that square numbers always make up a square. So this is 2 squared. You have a square there. This is 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared. You have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. It makes a square. 4 squared is 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yep, always makes a square. But then you'd say, oh yeah, well, that makes sense. This is a square. This is a square. This is a square. But 1 is just a dot. How is it a square? Well, technically, you know, if you look at it, it still makes up, like it's just an individual. It's like 1 across and 1 up. Similarly, this is 1 across and 1 up. So many of you are asking me, why is it not D? I don't understand. How can it be D? Because D is the exact same as this. It doesn't make any sense. If you look at it, it should at least increase now. So like, why would it be D? And then we can clearly see it's going 1, 2, like it's adding lines. It's adding vertical lines each time. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in horizontal lines, it goes 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it should be 3 horizontal lines because it increases, then it stops, and it increases, then it stops. 12 is D. All right.
I have a question.
Question number 13. Question number 13, this is a very confusing question a lot of times, but it's not difficult once you kind of see the pattern. And the easiest way to see I'm so sorry, someone is speaking. I'm not sure who it was. I didn't see you. But if you were to send it in the chat, I'll take a look at your question. As I mentioned, I'm not going to take questions over the microphone. All right. Question number 13. It's confusing if you were to just explain it, but then it's so much easier to figure it out if you do this one trick. And that is, again, like we've done before, kind of highlight the ones that are moving. So let me show you guys this. Let me highlight this, 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 this. And if you were to do that, and I ask you to count how many blocks there are, you'll realize that it's 5, 4, 3, 2, and the next one, it should be all right. And then it should be 1 on the right-hand side, right? Clear pattern, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The middle one stays the same, 1, 1, 1, 1. And the left-hand side, it goes 2, 4, 3, 5. So it goes +2, -1. +2 should be -1. So the answer should be 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 1, 1. And the answer is B. For 13B. By highlighting it, let me show it to you which one's which. That's there, and that's that one there. All right. Question 14. It's very similar to the one we did before, which was 6. Again, you break it into 4 quadrants, see if it makes sense. Let's see. Why does this not let me? All right, that's good enough. What you will see is that this L, actually, I'll use a different color. This L, that doesn't work, does it? All right, I'll use this. This L is here, is here, is here. This square is here, here, here. This L is there, 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 there. And then finally, if you're starting to see the pattern, this square is there, 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 there. So instead of them rotating within the same quadrant like before, now the whole quadrant is going around, right? If you look at it, the entire quadrant is going around, right? For people who are asking what quadrant is like 4 portions, like, you know, like your 4 square, that's 4 quadrants. So the entire shape is going around. And if you were to follow that around, this L should go to the bottom, this L should go to the top, and the only one that makes sense for those two is D, where you have this L up there and this L down there, and the other ones where they're also supposed to be like that, and then like that. Pretty easy. So someone sent me a good question. So Swara says, for question 14, isn't it easy just to find if it rotates? Because if it rotates because then it would be the same as the first picture. See, you would be like you're lucky because it's going +1 +1 +1, and there's only 4 locations. So if you go +1 +1 and there's 4 locations and there's 4 images, yes, it should finish off the exact same. But what if it was going +2 +1 +2 +1? So it doesn't make much sense. One sec. Which question? All right. Question number 15. This is a tricky question because it's trying to trick you on purpose. The best way to like figure this one out is just write down how many like units are there of each one on each side. On the left side, there's 1. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. On the right hand side, it's 1, 3, 5, and then 7. And if you look at it, the pattern is +1, +1, +1. Next one should be +1. So the left hand side should have plus 5 dots, so not B and not D. And the right hand side is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And the answer is C, not A. Pretty easy. All right. Okay, sorry, I was just going through the messages in the chat. Finally, question 16, same thing as before. Let's write out the number of sides for all of them. So you have the outside one has 4, 5, 6, 7. That's pretty easy. Next one should be 8. And that gives us B or D. And the inside one, the pattern is 3, 5, 4, 6. Is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So it goes +2 minus, sorry, -1 +2. Next one should be -1. So it should be 8 and 5. So the answer is D. Pretty easy. If you guys want, take a screenshot of this and yeah, take some notes. If you have any questions, send it in the chat. I'll take a look at it. One sec. And then if you want to take a photo of this page, you can. All right. So, you guys can have the 5-minute break now. I'm going to go get some water. I'll be back in 5 minutes as well. Remember, the break time is not a time for you to unmute and talk. Last week, the students who did talk were removed from the call, just because I'm not monitoring it and I have no idea what's going to go on. So I prefer that nobody speaks during the break. So yeah, go stretch, get some fresh air, drink some water, use a bathroom, and then come back at 5:11. 5:11 p.m. All right. Let's get started. All right. So let's go through reading comp. Go through some questions there. Bhavesh, if you want to send your question in the chat, I'm happy to answer it. All right. So, reading comp, starting with question number 1. Which of the following is the closest to the word mechanisms? Okay, so with reading comp, whenever you get a question that's asking for the definition of a word, right? Now, obviously, you don't have a dictionary with you, and if you don't know the word, you don't know the word. So that kind of sucks, right? So how can you maximize your likelihood of guessing the right answer, right? Because there will be questions that ask, what's the closest to this word? What is a synonym for this word? What's an antonym for this word? Things like that. So mechanisms, whenever you get a question that you don't understand, as a word that you don't understand, or the word that you don't know, the first thing is to break it down into its root words or similar words that you know that it relates to. So mechanisms, you should all know, is, I guess, similar to mechanic, right? Machine. Any other root words that we can think of? That you can think of in your head? Send it in the chat. Mech. Mech is just a short form of mechanical, something like that. A lot of people think engineering. Awesome, right? So a mechanic machine. So these are all part of the, I guess, same root words. Let me just Google actually, like, to give you the most precise answer. Mechanism. So it comes from the Greek word mechane, which turns into Latin as mechanismus. I wonder what those two means. But oh, they just mean a crane or machine, right? A crane or machine. So yeah, so that's the word that it comes from: mechanism, machine, mechanic. So now you got to then ask yourself, well, what is a machine? Or actually, so what is a machine? It's usually like a bunch of things that all come together to do a tool, right? That's to do a task. So for example, you have a single tool. For example, you might have a pen, which is a tool that you can write with. But a pen is not a machine, right? A machine, on the other hand, would be a bunch of different parts coming together to probably do a task or do a task better or faster, sort of thing, right? Now, mechanism, let's take a look. After we kind of get, I guess, the gist of the word, then you go back to where it was used, and then you ask yourself, let's see if maybe it kind of helps us, where it's used. So if you look at the second passage, it says, for more than a century, humans have been sending extra greenhouse gas into the atmosphere from industrial and agricultural activities. We are tampering with the balance of gases in our atmosphere. It is now trapping too much of the sun's heat so that our planet cannot cool off properly. We're throwing the regulation mechanism out of whack. So it's talking about how the Earth has a very good balancing structure of making sure we have enough greenhouse gases so that the Earth stays warm, but not too much where it gets too hot. And it used to be a balance, right? When one goes up, the other one goes down. It used to be balanced like this. But now the regulation mechanism is going out of whack and we're trapping too much heat. So mechanism in this case, it's talking about I guess the system in which the earth kind of keeps itself balanced. Do you guys understand? So take a look. Does the word components make any sense? So components is another word for parts. So it doesn't make much sense in this, because where are the parts in the sky? Like the earth doesn't have parts or I guess tools to make it work, right? And then again, work, the regulation work goes out of balance. That doesn't make sense as well. The closest one is the regulation operation, because mechanism, if you were to think of what the word actually means, it's usually like a system or things in place that kind of keeps that achieves a specific outcome. So let me tell you the exact definition: a system of parts working together in a machine, or a natural or established process by which something takes place or is brought about, right? So the second one is more useful for us: a natural or established process in which something takes place or brought about. So as I said, it's a bunch of processes, it's a bunch of steps or a system that is put in place so that a specific outcome is delivered. So for example, all of us humans, and I guess most mammals, whenever we run or we exercise, our body gets hot, right? And that's not good for the body. Like if you get too hot, it will destroy cells in your body, right? So your body has to cool down, so the body releases sweat, and the sweat cools you down, right? It's a regulation mechanism, right? Similarly, the earth has a mechanism or has an operation in which how it should work. Do you guys understand? Pretty easy.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, reading is usually
Yes.
a bit because especially with these questions where like definitions and stuff, unless you know the definitions or you know context, it's usually quite difficult, right? Guys, there's no need to say yes, especially when I'm speaking. So Akhil, Ayush, Alia, guys, come on. No need, all right? Especially when someone else is speaking, it's disrespectful to speak over them. Someone asked me, wouldn't it be components? So components are parts, but in this, for example, another example, like mechanism is like a process or a system of parts, right? But the parts itself is not a correct replacement, right? For example, a machine is a bunch of parts or a bunch of tools working together, right? But you can't say a screw is a machine because it's just a part of the machine. What is the purpose of this text? So A, to persuade people that climate change is real. B, to educate people on climate change. C, that inform people, humans are to blame for climate change. And D, to tell us that temperatures are climbing. So again, with reading comp, be very careful to read the question carefully. So the question is asking, what is the purpose of this text? And what does purpose mean? It's what is the reasoning behind it? Why would, so again, look at the poster. You have to be very careful. The poster is made by this group called Mums Clean Air Force. And they made a poster about global climate change, and they're saying armed with the facts. So a group called Mums Clean Air Force, I think it looks like you could infer that they want to have clean air, and it's mums who are working on it. They're telling us about global climate change, and they're saying that we're going to be armed with the facts. We're going to know about facts, right? And then if you look at the titles, it says, what is it? Hasn't climate always changed? Extremely dangerous weather, right? The reason it's not persuasion is that they're not trying to go through rebuttals on, like, for example, when you try to persuade someone, you go in with the idea that they don't agree with you, right? They won't believe you. And then you have to tell them, hey, this reason why you believe it's wrong, it's incorrect. This reason why of this thing that you believe, this is wrong. This is wrong. But in this, it just tells us what it is. I guess you could say that this is a bit of a rebuttal, but it's not strong enough to say that they're persuading us. they're mostly just telling us about all the what it is, the impact of it, and that it's not something that's natural, that it's something that's very unusual for our climate, right? So option B looks pretty good. Option A, not really. Option C, to inform that humans are to blame for climate change. Now, again, be very careful with the text. The text does say that human activity it could be a cause of climate change. Human activity could be a cause of climate change. But is the entire passage written just to convince us that humans are to blame for climate change? And the answer is no, because it doesn't, it just says it like maybe for one line out of this entire poster, right? So there isn't enough evidence to suggest that it's C, and to D to tell that temperatures are climbing. So here, like it does mention that temperatures rise, but they haven't written it just to tell us that the temperature is rising, right? The reason for it hasn't been that. The best answer so far is just to educate people on climate change. The answer is B. All right, 1 second, guys. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like
Thanks, guys. Okay. So, question number 3. What are other ways of describing crocheted blankets of gases? So, again, break down the question. Crochet is a type of weaving. It's, putting strings together of wool, I guess. Not fully sure the type of technique. Blanket, you guys know what blanket is, of gases, right? So it's trying to help us visualize this image of a blanket of different gases all together, right? So, so it says that we have all these different types of gases. Now, atmosphere is correct because it describes the pretty much the atmosphere that we have, which is basically this region of gases that is in our on our planet. Mixture of gases I would also agree with, because it's talking about weaving together a blanket of different gases. So it's a mixture of gases, right? Greenhouse gases I would disagree with, because greenhouse gases are a specific type of gas which is bad for the planet, like which heats it up, such as methane and carbon dioxide, right? They've talked about it here, right? Greenhouse gases such as water vapor, carbon, methane, and nitrous oxide, right? But then our atmosphere is made up of nitrogen and oxygen and stuff like that. So because of that, sorry, 1 sec. Where is that blanket of? Yeah. Think of our atmosphere as a gorgeous crocheted blanket of gases, right? So these gases, neither good or bad, they're natural. Think of our greenhouse gas, which essentially releases enough heat to there's a climate imbalance. Okay. Actually, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to allow greenhouse gases. Now, the reason I'm going to allow it is because in reading comp, you're not allowed to bring outside knowledge, right? You're not supposed to bring in and say that, oh, because I know this is the right answer. I know that, for example, like oxygen is not a greenhouse gas, or nitrogen is not a greenhouse gas, right? But those are the two biggest gases in our atmosphere. But here, it says greenhouse gases such as water vapor, carbon, methane, nitrous oxide trap heat in our atmosphere. These gases are neither good or bad. So those gases, it's referring to greenhouse gases, are neither good or bad. They, again, referring to greenhouse gas, are natural. Think of our atmosphere as a gorgeous crocheted blanket of gases. So again, so far, it's making multiple references to greenhouse gases, right? So this could include the greenhouse gases here, which lets sunshine in and light in and releases just enough heat to keep the temperatures comfortable for human life. That is a climate imbalance. For more than a century, humans have been sending extra greenhouse gases. Yeah, so it's greenhouse gases fit there, right? So I can't bring extra knowledge in, so that makes sense as well. And aerosphere, again, if you're not fully sure what it means, right? The first thing I would do is look at the answers. Is there an option which says I, and I? No. It says choose one. And then I'll break down what the word aero and sphere means. Atmosphere, we know that it's, part of the Earth, sphere referring there. And aero, we've seen that word in aeroplane. You've seen that in the chocolate arrow. It means like air, right? So aerosphere, the exact definition of that word, let me get that up. Aerosphere. Definition. It's a body of air surrounding the Earth. It's another word for atmosphere. So that makes sense as well. So the answer is D. To my class on the Sunday morning, I know I told you guys it was just those two. I'm wrong. The greenhouse gases, based off the evidence from the text only, it has to be greenhouse gases. All right. Which is the most likely definition of deluges? So here, this passage, again, if you don't know what the word deluge is, go back to the text. The word deluge itself, I can't think of any root words that it could make sense with. So I'm looking at the passage for evidence. So it says that global warming fuels more intense deluges. So it fuels more intense deluges, okay, from major storms. Okay, so it comes from storms, more intense deluges. Then rising sea levels make storm surges more destructive. So more intense deluges. Let's look at the options. A pit of water. If you guys know what a pit is, it's just a hole with water, right? Is a pit of water, does that sound very intense? No. Like, how can you make a pit of water more intense? Like a bigger pit? Flood. Floods are very intense. Lakes are not intense. You can make a lake more intense. Puddles by definition are tiny. You can't make an intense puddle, right? Unless you're Peppa Pig, who loves jumping in puddles. But puddles are not very intense. They're small. So the answer is B. The use of a quote in the extremely dangerous weather paragraph does what? Provide credit. All right, so let's find the definition. The quote. So here we have Munich Re, a reinsurance company, put it bluntly. Nowhere in the world is a rising number of natural catastrophes more evident than in North America. So an insurance company is saying that that global warming is causing a lot more natural disasters. Now that gives credibility. Now the reason it gives credibility is because credibility is basically, I guess, support to an idea because someone who's an expert or someone of authority is saying it. So for example, if I come to you guys and I say, hey, I think you guys are low in vitamin D, right? You won't believe me. But if a doctor says, hey, I think based off your blood test that you're low in vitamin D, you're more likely to believe the doctor because the doctor has credibility because they've spent years studying the human body, and they're looking at a report and they say, hey, it looks like you're low on this, right? But at the same time, if that doctor looks at your car and says, hey, I think your car needs an oil change, Or when a mechanic says, hey, your car needs an oil change, you're more likely to believe the mechanic because the mechanic is an expert. So he has credibility. So an insurance company, why do they have credibility? Because their business is all about tracking disasters, right? If there's more natural disasters, there'll be more houses that are flooded or destroyed, more cars that are flooded or destroyed, right? So they have to be aware of it. So it provides credibility. Offers a different perspective. I believe that this is wrong because are they providing a different perspective? No, they are affirming the idea that global warming is leading to natural disasters. And finally, reassures people that climate change is real. Yes. So the answer is 1 and 3, which is B. Which of the following was not included in the text? Average temperatures are climbing steadily. That is included. Warming intensifies drought and wildfires, that is included. There's a hole in the ozone layer due to human activities. Is that included? Nope.
Nope.
So the answer
No.
is question number 7. What is the purpose to the paragraph closest to the left? So closest to the left, it's a paragraph saying, what is it? Tells us all about global warming. So to inform readers how global warming has occurred, yes. To inform us that humans are to blame for it, no, not really. It's not just there just to tell us that. Again, purpose, right? To inform the composition of gases, no, it doesn't tell us all the composition of the gases. To inform us that climate change is real. Not really. It's just telling us what it is. So I believe the best answer is that how it's actually, yeah, how it's occurred. It's telling us what our atmosphere is, what's happened, and what why, how global warming has happened. And how it's causing disasters. Finally, antonym. Antonym is the opposite of synonym. So opposite of catastrophe, calamity is the same as catastrophe, cataclysm is the same as catastrophe, crisis is the same, but conservation, it means to protect, it means to save. So the answer is C. Finally, this poem, right? Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passion from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken. So this first paragraph, he's telling us, ever since I was a child, I have not been as others were, right? I haven't seen the things that other people saw. I couldn't be excited about the same things as others. I couldn't, I didn't take my interest from the same place as others. My sorrow, my sadness. Okay, sorry, I'll read the poem first. My sorrow, I could not awaken. Sorry, my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone. And all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn. So my sadness, I was sad. I couldn't bring my heart to happiness at the same tone as others. Basically, he was always sad and I couldn't be happy like the others. And everything that I liked alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn. So dawn means, dawn is when the sun rises, just before the sun rises, right? Remember 2 weeks ago, we did a poem called Do Not Go Gentle Into Thy Good Night? In that poem, night represents death. So dawn should represent beginning, morning, birth, childhood, things like that. So then in my childhood, in the dawn of a very stormy life a very troubled life he's going to have, it began. So his life began, even his sadness and everything started ever since he was young. That's basically the gist of this paragraph. From every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that rounded me rolled. So from the extreme of good and the extreme of bad, the mystery that binds me still, from the torrent. So a torrent is like it's like a tornado, but that happens in water. Do you guys know what a whirlpool is? It's like one of those like things like in the water that like sucks it down like that. Let me just double check if I'm correct. No, sorry, that's just a whirlpool. A torrent is like a fast moving stream, like an extreme rapid stream or lake. And then there's a fountain. So if you were to think about it, fountains are usually just very graceful, it's man-made and still. Then you have torrents. So from this extreme to this extreme, from this extreme to this extreme, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled. So the sun kept on going every day, you know, as the day went by, it's the same thing. In his autumn tint of gold, from the lightnings in the sky, as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm, and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of the heaven was blue, of a demon in my view. So the entire sky was blue. It was a sunny day for everyone except because for him, there was this cloud in the shape of a demon with thunder and lightning that's going on top of him. So it's basically saying that above him, like everyone else, it looked like this blue sky. But just for him, it was like dark and dreary and a big cloud with thunder and lightning striking him down. Meaning that he was very sad and lonely. Question 9. This poem is written in the perspective of A, a child, or B, an adult. Of course, these two are definitely wrong. Most people might get confused and say child. But the reason it's not a child is because he's talking about his childhood, right? You talk about your childhood as an adult, not as a child. So the answer is B. What is meant from the childhood's hour? So since he was a child, that's pretty much what it means. It's not since he was a teenager. It's not the minute you were born, because that's not really your childhood. Like, if you guys have any siblings, you guys know that, or even yourselves, most of you don't have memories until you guys are about 4 or 5, right? Do you guys remember that day when you guys went from like, you know, saying goo goo gaga, and then suddenly looking in the mirror and saying, I'm alive. Oh my gosh. Software has been downloaded. Update is completed. I'm a human now, right? So, but that's a joke. But like, yeah, so the moment you become sentient, you become conscious of who you are as a person, that's pretty much, I guess, where your childhood begins. Does that make sense? The time you feel most like a child. This is wrong because, like, for example, you can feel like a child even as an adult, right? For example, I've seen many adults giggle like a child when they, for example, buy something that they really, really, really want. Or, for example, when they get their favorite meal, right? I've seen people dance or whatever, right? They've acted like a child. So that's not really true. So from childhood hours, he's talking about since his childhood. So his entire childhood. What is the theme of this poem? Loneliness. He's talking about that the whole time, alone, but being lonely. The first stanza is trying to tell us about the author. He finds himself incomparable to others. Incomparable to others, like it's just not a correct use of the word incomparable. Stanza, incomparable, fine. He's the same as the others around him. He's not. He doesn't understand himself. Not correct. He has a fractured reality. This is a bit rough because a fractured reality means that he might have a mental health condition where he's not seeing things as they really are. But that's not true. He's talking about how alone he felt as a child. And he's not saying that there's an actual demon, an actual, in the sky that's like shooting down lightning or anything. He's using it as like a metaphor. So he doesn't have a fractured reality. So of all of them, the best one is A. He doesn't He doesn't feel like he relates to others. The cloud that takes the form of, so you might be tempted to say demon, but it's incorrect because, like, yeah, it says of a demon in my view, but it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for the idea of his loneliness, how he felt all alone. You might also be tempted to say something negative, but it's too broad when you have a more correct answer right there. What is an antonym for common? It's pretty easy. Unusual. Someone keeps asking me, why isn't it isolation? It's not isolation because to be isolated means that other people put you away, right? When you get sick from COVID, the hospitals and the government tells you to isolate yourself. They tell you you have to be alone. But that's different to being alone or being lonely. This guy wasn't pushed away from all his friends and family. He just was lonely. Which of the following statements is false? The author does relate to a person. False. Because it doesn't say that he relates to anyone. It doesn't tell us at all. So it's A, the author doesn't relate to anyone. That's true. So that's incorrect here. He hasn't had a pleasant life since birth. Yeah. He says it's a stormy life. And the author's demons stem from his ordinary life. Not really. Which of the following statements is true? The author is not perceptive in terms of the world around him. The author is perceptive on how he feels. Nature is not symbolic in this poem. It is very symbolic, so that's incorrect. The mystery that the author refers to is irrelevant. I don't think this option is very relevant, actually. The author is not perceptive on the terms of the world around him. He is perceptive because he's talking about how all these people have these joys and happiness, things like that, but he is unable to relate to anyone else. So he's very perceptive of how he feels. I'd say this is the most correct option B. All right, guys. So that's it for today. If you guys have finished, yeah, you guys can head off, and I'll see you guys next week.
Melvin.
Thanks, Melvin.
So send it in the chat, my friend. I'm not taking questions
Thanks,
over.
Melvin. Bye.
Melvin, the homework, please, for next week.
So it's the next booklet. It's weeks 5 to 8, and it's just the quantitative reasoning.
Okay. Thank you.
Melvin, I already sent it in the chat.
Could you send it again? There's a lot of messages.
Oh, okay.
There's no writing
Thanks,
topic
Melvin.
next week. No. Guys, send it in the chat.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Melvin. Bye. Bye, Melvin.
Bye, Melvin.
Bye.
Bye, Melvin. Is this the end of chat? Bye, Melvin.
If you could just send it again, I'll read. I'm replying to chats right now. If you send it again, I can see it. But all the previous ones, it's got lost.
Bye, Melvin. Melvin,
Bye. Send it in the chat, guys.
is this the end of class or is this still
It
on?
is. Class is over.
Bye, Melvin.
Bye-bye.
Melvin, answer my question.
Buddy, if you send it again, I can see it. As I mentioned, I can't see the ones about there's just so many other messages, like people saying goodbye. So if you send it again, I'll read it and send it to you. Reply.
Okay.
Melvin, is this end of chat?
It's the end of class, yeah.
Done. Oh, when I sent it.
So there's no writing homework. If the homework is hard, just give it your best shot, and that's it. Leave it as it is.
Okay.
For writing topic, engage, do we have to write about realistic fiction or can we write about fantasy? You can write about fantasy as long as it makes sense. Like if the sequence of events that takes place. If that makes sense, then it's fine.
Melvin.
And I'm so sorry, my friend. Send it in the chat. All right. And then a lot of you sending say, oh, my teacher said this, my teacher said that. They must have made a mistake or you must have misheard. It was one of those things. But we've gone through it now, so it's fine, right?
Bye, Melvin.